you mentioned, and you guys are doing it, right? And again, we'll have links to everything, but you mentioned content creation. It sounds like you think everybody with a laundromat or laundry business should be making content. So can you talk about that a little bit? Like how important actually is content creation and what does that actually do for your business?
We ran our entire business just off Instagram alone, like just sales through Instagram. We had clients all over the world and did coaching and stuff like that. So that was all through content creation.
Talk about like marketing budget wise, like you absolutely should be making content for your laundromat, for your pickup and delivery laundry business. But just to kind of piggyback off of what Liz is saying, like just for this generation coming up again, like that, like they are consuming so much content, and even our generation, we're millennials, and like, you know, just like that whole introduction, we've been through this all to see it to now, and now this upcoming generation, like that is how people search things first, right? Like that is arguably more important first stop than your website.
There is power in telling a story through content. You cannot tell that story through a piece of paper. You just can't. You could put it all in text, and guess what? People just aren't going to read it. But people are going to watch your video, a very creative video, and they're going to want to hear what you have to say, and they're going to want to hear your expertise. We've had so many people like on TikTok have reached out to us like, I wish I was in Bainbridge so you could do my laundry. Like that's power of content. That is the power of sharing your story is because you just can't do that through an ad like you can through content. Like, and you have so many opportunities, and people think that the goal of content should be to go viral, and that's so far from the truth. That should be a bonus. The goal of content should be to tell your story and gain a community, to build a community. And you only do that through sharing content.
Hey, it's Jordan with the Laundromat Resource Podcast. This is show 193, and I'm pumped you're here today, as always, because today we have an instant classic episode with Beau and Liz, where we're going to go over all kinds of important things. And in fact, I think this is crucial and becoming more and more important as we go forward. We're going to talk a lot about branding. Now, they started their pickup and delivery from scratch. So we're going to talk about how to do all that. And they grew a good business, and they're involved in the community. We got a lot of really practical details in here, but we really hit on that branding piece in this one because listen, we've got a lot of big brands coming into our space right now. Tide is franchising and selling franchise locations by the boatload at the moment. I've seen Kathy Ireland Laundry jumping in. There's more and more private equity money coming into our space, not just on the software side, but also on the acquisition side. So, or build out. So listen, branding is going to become more and more important for independent owner operators like you, or like you soon will be. So we really jump into it today. So this one's an awesome episode. Real quick before we jump into it with these guys, I have a question for you. Are you listening to this right now and you have one or more laundromats, or you run some sort of laundry business, pick up and delivery, drop off, something like that? If so, listen, we're booking out right now for guests on summer guests on the podcast. So hit me up with an email, Jordan, Jordan, like Michael Jordan, at laundromatresource.com, and shoot me an email and let me know that you're interested in coming on the show. Listen, I think my philosophy of this podcast is that we've got something to learn from everyone. So whether you've been doing this business for a month or 100 years and multiple generations, we think there's something that we can all learn from you and from each other. So if you're somewhere in that range of like a day to 100 years of owning laundromat or laundromats or some sort of laundry business, send me an email and let's do a podcast interview. Just talk about your story. No pressure or anything like that. But we love to hear your stories, and out of those stories come lessons that we all benefit from. And I know this for a fact because I hear every single week from multiple people. I listen to the podcast. It's a lifesaver. I wouldn't be able to start my business, or I've been able to grow my business or whatever because of what some guest has said or multiple guests. So listen, don't just be a consumer. I tell this to my kids all the time. Don't just be a consumer, be a contributor as well. Jordan at laundromatresource.com. All right. With that said, let's jump into this. I think instant classic episode here. And I know you're going to love it, and I'll see you on the back end. Beau and Liz, thank you for coming on the show. How are you guys doing today?
Great.
Thank you for having us.
I was like, when I turned on the camera and I saw your smiling faces there, color coordinated, and then hearing about your brand, I'm like, okay, this is the one, man. This is it. I am psyched for this. But before we jump into all that, why don't you give us a little background on who you guys are and where you're located, and then how you got into this business?
Sure. I'll let Liz go. I might run on a tangent if I try to summarize.
Oh, goodness. So we are Beau and Liz. We are an entrepreneurial couple. We have been entrepreneurs for about 7+ years now. And, to kind of shorten it up without, like Beau said, going down a tangent, we're in a lot of different industries, a lot of service-based industries, serving clients, and a big background that Beau and I do. We're branding designers, and we've gone, into marketing agencies and had a lot of success, and some not so successful businesses. And laundry has always fascinated us as just one of those things and industries that has kind of seemed like, through a lot of different trials and tribulations, it still is going strong.
Yeah.
So it's always been kind of like on our foresight, on our radar, something we wanted to add to our portfolio. And, a year ago, we made the move to Bainbridge Island. We were living in Montana, and we just kind of decided to go all in and make it happen. And it was like 6 months in, we were kind of like, waiting for this opportunity, trying to find a laundromat and thinking like, okay, maybe it'll come. And we just kind of decided, like, I'm a firm believer that if you have an idea, someone else probably has the same idea. And so we just kind of decided to go for it.
Yeah, we're actors. We're not actors, but like we jumped on, what we felt was like an incredible opportunity, especially for the community when we're here. We have a very unique community. There's, it's an island. There's one way off, or you take the ferry across to Seattle, right? So it's every part of it's a vibe, but we have a really close knit community, and of about, I believe, like 25,000 residents. So not a lot, but in that there's like 13,000 households. So, a big residential market. There's the commercial market, if we want to say like smaller scale commercial, not really industrial, but, there's just a lot of opportunity. We kind of ran the numbers and we're like, this could be really fun. And we got right to building a brand. Like Liz said, that's our jam. So we jumped in, we built Lotta's Laundry, had a website up right away. And I think I remember the first order. I don't know if you want to tell that story too, because that was
we'll get into it. Yeah, I'll let you kind of.
But yeah, that's like kind of how we got here, and super pumped to be on the island here and to serve the community. And it's been incredible just meeting everyone, and great reception for what we're doing and the service we offer. So we're super pumped.
Awesome. Well, I mean, I got to say right off the bat, like, you're in Montana, kind of the middle of the country. Yeah. You could have gone east. Say, right? You could have gone west. And I just say you chose correctly, West Coast, best coast. So
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's been awesome. We were out here in 2018 too, and lived here for
lived in Seattle.
Yeah, North Seattle, and then moved back to Montana. But found our way back finally. Yeah. We have a couple kids, 2 daughters. So
we really did want like a family business too, like a business that, if they wanted to, they could kind of be a part of, eventually. I don't know.
Yeah, our little one she loves hearing about the day and going on deliveries. Yeah. And, you know what I mean? So it's cool. It's cool to share that with them, and like Liz said, and build that all together. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. And maybe a little bit down the line, you've got some legal child labor too.
Sure.
So,
there you go. Right. Yeah. It only takes one time. So it'll be good. We're excited.
Yeah, it's the child labor loophole there. I like it.
It's young kid.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. So, it was your move kind of west to the island? Is that because you had been there before? You were familiar with it already? Or what drove you to make that move, and how'd you end up where you ended up?
Yeah.
Okay. So, we were kind of like, once we had kids, I think it was, we were in Montana for 10 years. We went to design school. We had clients there. We were, we had a content creation agency, and, it was kind of like this thing where Beau and I, we've been really good at building businesses. We haven't ever had experience being entrepreneurs before. We've just kind of dove in, and we're a fail forward couple.
I like it. I like it.
Learned is through failing a lot of times. And that's, maybe not what people want to hear, but we definitely have fallen flat on our faces. And so we kind of had a big, kind of fallout in Montana. We had like 5 employees and we had a huge contract that kind of got pulled from us. And it just kind of got to this breaking point where, again, we were like, gosh, every time we're just working and working and working and working, and we need a business where like we can put in this work and it can just like grow from there. We can actually get the foundation going.
I think another way to put it is like be not so dependent on like other people and like we control the results, right? And so like Liz said, we were always kind of hunting for like, like obviously it was like what's the other big ones, like car washes or like some of the other ones and I think
self-storage,
totally. And at that age I think it was about the money in some respects, to be dead honest. And so like I think that comes with like seasons of your life though, like so we're in the season now where it's not about that, like we're like really genuinely wanting to like just be this community, right? Like just be so ingrained in this community. And like, that's what drives, I know that's one of my big drivers and why we're doing this here on this island versus, anywhere else. Right. It's definitely a different game than someone in a city competing against, all these so.
But so we came from Montana and then we just kind of decided like, we need a change of pace. Like we had lived in Seattle, we missed being in the city. We had 2 kids, and it just there's not a lot of opportunities. Like Montana is a beautiful place to visit. It is amazing, and there's no shade to anyone who lives there. Still great friends there, but it's just you don't have pro sports teams. You don't have a lot of the infrastructure that other cities have, and so we knew we wanted to be in a city but be able to raise our family. And so Bainbridge was just like a great place for us to be able to make that transition. And then after kind of like both sides, getting involved in the community, seeing what the community needed, that was kind of how we decided to really just go full throttle with Lotta's. And that was where we were doing coaching at the time and still had a lot of social media clients, and we just everything just kind of fell into place with the universe and with Lotta's. And we just kind of decided to put everything else on the back burner and just go full throttle.
Yeah.
And so far it's been amazing.
Yeah. I love that. When was that? I mean, like what's the timeline we're looking at here?
Yeah. So we moved here in December of 2023.
No, 2024.
No, December of 2023.
Okay. Yeah.
And then we started probably, we probably started building the brand in like May of 2024. Okay. And then I think we opened on, I believe, July 15th. So like leading up to that, we did a lot of like big things that we can talk about, but as far as like,
starting to get
a seed, if you will. Yeah. So
before we opened,
one thing we do is like the 4th of July parade, big old 4th of July parade here in Bainbridge. It's amazing. It's, it's like the classic.
One of the like small town, biggest things.
We went around, popsicle, kids are like dripping stains. So we got these little stain packets, printed a sticker with like 20% off your first order. And just for like, walking the streets, handing out little like stain removers, and everyone's like, oh, and it worked well. Yeah. Like, I think it got some instant right away. And that was, a week before we were even open. So we can, right away we were like, let's test it kind of as we build this. And then I remember going into the city one day for, I think I had like a meeting or something, and Liz was like, we got our first order, like, and I was like, oh my god, like what do we do, like, so it was like instant like panic, like we knew it was coming, but like all of a sudden we were like, oh my god, this is like real, it's real. So
yeah, well, okay, so I mean, I want to get into like, how do you move to a new location and start this business? And you guys started a pickup and delivery only business, right? Correct. That's what you guys are doing. Yeah. And then are you processing laundry out of someone else's laundromat at your house? Like, how are you actually doing laundry?
Yeah, absolutely. So like you said, we pick up and delivery only. I think the initial thought, like Liz said, was like find a laundromat, right? Like, we should make money in the time we're not making money. That was always the idea, but it was always also led with the convenience, because I think that's the big sell with any pickup and delivery. Like you're even seeing this shift of like how it used to be like a high class amenity, and now it's moving more into the middle class because people are buying back their time, right? So we saw it as an immediate need, and it translated to that in orders, right? And we kind of like bailed on the idea of getting a laundromat and just understanding that like, okay, the next move is scaling to a bigger facility that we can get more machines, but just being a processing facility, right? With the possibility of drop off maybe, but
so we have an ADU on our property, and we just do it here and process it here, and we're able to actually get through quite a lot. We have commercial machines here, so we switched out our residential stuff right away, and that was something we just noticed like within the first once we started to get a little busy, we were like, okay, this isn't gonna work out, this is our first investment. So again, like that was a big investment for us right out of the gate. And I don't think we would have been able to process as much laundry without a laundromat had we had not invested in commercial machines.
Yeah. Just would have been too slow.
But yeah, so there's definitely like there's been push and pull in terms of like what Beau was saying, like because we live on an island, there's a water, certain areas that we're able to go.
Obviously as you need to be on sewer, and so there's some key things that we needed to like hit and so
maneuver around for sure.
Yeah, and so we're in the process right now as well of hopefully we've been on a journey. So if anyone, wants to check it out, go to our Instagram, Lotta's Laundry, and it's all in there. We're sharing everything, building it in public. And we've looked at probably 5.
Very openly sharing.
Yeah. We looked at
that's awesome.
5 different spaces I think we looked at, and we got a good one right now. So we're kind of like,
we haven't signed a lease yet. Fingers crossed.
Everyone, hold it down for us. But it's gonna be good. Like that's the next step for us, is getting that space and doubling, tripling our machines, because we're getting super heavy on orders and deliveries, which is great. And it's awesome. We're very grateful for that. And now it's just like it all feels like really good timing. So Yeah,
I think the biggest thing for Beau and I, what I want to say is just like we started a lot of businesses with a lot of credit, and it's just and we really wanted to start this business on as little as possible. Like we wanted to see like, okay, let's not take out the loan first. Let's not do the $200,000 laundromat or whatever it's going to cost us, and then refurbish the machines, and just like let's see if we can really just make it like flip it for, what I'm saying? Like, cause that's always been our move in business, is like build this elaborate thing first, like build out the whole studio and then have the people come. And so this time we were like, let's actually like,
let's let the people help us build it,
in
a way. Right.
I love that. Yeah.
That was huge. That was like, wow. Man, that was like profound.
Did I have to go back to that one? Right.
Yeah.
I'm
gonna write that down.
That's how it's been. And so to say like right now with how busy we are, obviously I do want to give a little shout out to Sense too. Like, their software is amazing, and it's definitely
helped us.
We could never do any of this without it. So, being able to like have a good system like that. And, but yeah, it's just like we're working our tails off. That's for sure.
The community though, like they like especially like with our Instagram and TikTok and sharing and building this in public. We share our numbers every month. Like we're very open about here's where we're at. Here's what we made last month. The numbers are up. The numbers are down. And so I think it gives people the sense of like wanting to be involved. Like they have more backing of like they see our videos and like, oh, hey, I saw that, you're looking for a space. How did that go? Like, so there's a little bit more connection point to the business as well, in terms of like, they feel a part of it. And I think that's a huge part of branding is telling that story and really like creating that, consumer connection with your brand.
And one way to think about that too is like, this is this new way of technology of pickup and delivery, right? Like with these apps, like, I mean, it can be completely contactless, right? Yeah. And like, so again, like you're removing yourself as a brand again to this extra state of like where there could be no face behind the brand, which that is not, how you grow a loyal, customer. That's not how you get a retention rate that's, through the roof, right? Like you need some sort of personal touch and being able to do that. So I think that side of like social and them knowing exactly who we are and what we're doing and how we're doing it, that's like that connection piece where they cannot ever see us face to face, but like understand exactly who we are, exactly what we stand for, and exactly why we're doing what we're doing. Yeah. So it's cool because I think you're missing a lot of that within how fast this technology is going. You know, it's just like it's more and more removed. Like there's machines with just credit cards now, so it's wild. But
yeah, well, I mean, it's true. There's a lot of it's interesting how this industry is going right now, and I want to go back here in a second to before, like we've gone way down the path, but I want to like back us up here and talk about this launch and how to get this thing started. But and also, by the way, we'll have links to all your social stuff so everybody can go find them. So check out the show notes. If you're on YouTube, it'll be down below. Cool. But it's interesting as this new technology is coming in and helps us manage our business and automate things. Like it could be tempting or very easy to be sort of touchless and not have sort of that personal,
even more passive, right?
Yeah, even more passive. But I think that there is something to be said. And I think that that's an okay business model. That's a viable business model. However, I think that leaves a huge opportunity for people like you who want to come in and be very high touch and build relationships with the community. I mean, you said like, we're trying to just ingrain ourselves in this community here. Right. And there's huge opportunity in approaching your business that way.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Let's rewind a little bit here. You've got this idea to build this business and you are like, okay, I mean, you kind of said like we started building the brand first. I mean, is that right? You started building the brand first before you.
Yeah, so we started building that out, decided on a name. I think, I remember walking around the city too. We're like, what are we going to name this thing? Like, and so it's like, you remember all these little moments along the journey. I think it's important to like, remember that as you come up and share that stuff. Like no one's ever gonna like be, well, some people will be.
But even like down to the name, like the name was so thought out in terms of like, I have this whole list on my phone notes and like Lotta, it's like everyone's like, oh, you must be Lotta. It's like, no, Lotta is like, like it wanted to be rooted, like it was rooted in like, like your grandma, like, it was an old fashioned name. Like we were looking like through like 1950s, 1940s names, because that's what our brand is all about. So we wrote our brand story, like really before we designed anything, like what is the message and the feeling that we want to give. And I think that's often missed a lot of times. Like people are like, oh, here, I got my logo. I went on Fiverr, I got my logo and I'm good. And here are my colors. And it's like, that is so not a brand. That is just like an image, like it's so not, it's a face, but it's not a feeling that you're giving your customers when they interact. And that is the difference between a brand and a logo, And just like, so Lotta's is like created off of that.
Yeah. That old school, like, like the plumber you had for 50 years, or, like
the feel good.
I tell everyone like, like, with our recurring customers, like if they cancel, like I want to be like a like a high school breakup. Like I'm gonna call you crying, like you should be crying too. Like maybe we'll get back together for a couple more orders, and then and then whatever, we can part ways. Like
on again, off again.
Yeah, no, like we want to have that much connection, and I think we do. Like we show up with dog treats, we have handwritten notes, right? Like and that turnover on getting reviews, and like everyone's just extremely happy with the service, which is great. But at the end of the day, in a bigger market and even a smaller market, like Liz said early on in this episode, like anyone can do what you're doing. Like, you don't hold the rights to like
laundry isn't a new idea.
I remember, it's like McDonald's and Burger King. They're like, you sell a burger too? Like, no, I sell a burger, don't do that, so it's important to like set yourself apart and not in a competitive way. Like, just for the fact of like you should want to be different and give that different experience, because again there's so many different ways there's even different ways to get the same experience. So it's
it's all about the feeling, truly the feeling you want your customers to have when they interact with your business, like literally down to the thank you note that you're handing them. All of that is a huge feeling that you're giving them as a customer, and people just oftentimes don't even realize how the simplest thing like that, a simple thank you note, can seriously make a customer feel so much more a part of your business.
Yeah. People want to be heard. People want to be seen. So that's what we're doing.
Well, I mean, and good, I've said this before, like good feelings translate directly to the bottom line, right? Like you will make more money if you are intentional about making your customers feel good and associating your service, your business with feeling good. And already you're taking that chore off their hands. So you've already got sort of a leg up, no matter what. But anybody, like you said, anybody could do that. So going above,
to add to that, like within this industry, like it's laundry is a very personal thing. You know what I mean? Like I've come to discover that through, you see what people give you and what they don't give you. And you're like, they clearly may be doing some laundry still and they're more intimate items or like they're delicate, like there's a very high trust factor that doesn't just happen overnight. So again, going back to like whatever you can do to set yourself apart of not just like another Joe that set up shop, like it's so important. It's almost like hard to explain how important it is.
Well, I mean, I want to hit, if you guys don't mind, I mean, you've already mentioned a couple of things. I want to hit two different things because you're bringing up like huge points. And I really love like the way you guys are approaching this is actually really cool.
Okay, good.
So we talk about good feelings and then we talk about trust factor. I mean, can we talk about like what things are you doing for each of those to help foster the good feelings? I mean, I love that I wrote down like dog treats and handwritten notes. Like that's awesome. I love, especially like the dog treat thing. Like that's awesome. Pets are like, it's the way to the heart.
They'll be like barking too. And then they see you, they're like, oh, they like chill out. They're like, oh, but treat's coming, So it doesn't even like, you don't even matter. Like I'm sure I have so many people's Ring door cam where I'm like, I left your treat on the bag. Like, they're like, this weirdo, like, but I'm about it. Like it's very important. So I mean, to expand on that, what are some other things that we do pretty well?
So, we immediately got involved in the community, which I think is a huge trust factor, is like, especially in a local area, you need to be trusted. Like trust is key. It doesn't matter if you have the best service, the best burgers, like the community needs to trust you. And so we did chalk marketing, like a big guerrilla marketing campaign. We went to all of the parks in town and did like a hopscotch thing where like it was for kids to interact, and then like it'd be like step 1 wash, step 2 dry, but they would like spin around and then it'd be like dance in a circle, your laundry's done. And so a lot of parents shared that on Facebook and that got the community talking. And then
that was pre-opening as well.
Yeah, that was
when we started that.
But then we continued that like throughout the summer. We live in the PNW, so it was definitely a summer thing. And we'll do that again in the summer. It was fun for the kids. And again, their clothes get stained, they get chalk on them.
And then we hear words like we were Montessori.
Creating your own business.
Exactly.
Like here's some ice cream, extra drippy.
Oh my God, you're so right. No,
that's good feeling, right? Like chalk, like these feel good activities that like make people feel good and get people talking.
And again, like thinking about like how people, psychographics of people, right? Like how do people react? Like parents love their children. They love when their children are happy, right? So we're hearing from Montessori's that we work with, like the kids are going around like, did you see the chalk? Like, did you see, I went to the chalk at Battle Point Park. Like, oh, I went to the chalk down at, it's like they're talking about these installations that we did. And like that is so powerful. You know what I mean? So, so we did that. We did the classic, like door tags.
Yeah. But in terms of like feeling good too, we also have donated sponsorships to like community. So like they did like a couple schools have had like galas where we've donated like a month's worth of laundry or like a sponsored teacher, like a teacher appreciation where we've given a teacher like, I think again, another month's worth of laundry. Yeah. So that's been huge too, in terms of like, again, like we're a brand new business. We can't dish out money left and right, but we can give our time and our services and our skills. And so I think that's another way people don't often think about is that like, we did like a lot of silent auctions for community, like nonprofits to raise money for some of the nonprofits, again, donating laundry. So, I think that's just been a really good way for us too, to give back and feel like we're not just, again, this business that's coming in just for profit. Like we know that even as we continue to expand off of Bainbridge, like wherever we go, we have the same plans for the foundation of that community, like to be very rooted in that community too, and give back and
creating a repeatable process, right? Creating systems to get a repeatable process. And I think, to add on that, the chamber, right? So like we joined the chamber right away. Got like an advertising spot in their window like the second month, like just creating these relationships. You never know where a conversation's going to go. And I'm sure a lot of people can attest to that. Like some of the biggest discoveries and, real estate and, so many different things just happen off knowing people and conversation. So word of mouth is huge. And especially in a community like this and really in any community, like people trust things other people trust. Right. So it's just.
We did basically incentives to write reviews for us. So the handwritten notes, it was basically like, it started off, we have like these old school like checks, like what you would get at like a diner kind of, and they're pink, of course, on brand. And so those are, like, thank you. Those get handwritten to every customer if they haven't written or if they've already written us a review. And then if they haven't written us a review, they get a review card, and those we have printed in Canva, and they have like on one side, like it's actually like pretty well worded. Like this will only take 20 seconds.
This will take 2 minutes, and you'll get $10 instantly. So again, a lot of the language you're using, thinking about thinking about the psychology behind what you're saying and like how you're offering it, as opposed to like receive $10 off your next order. Right?
We did try that, and it really honestly didn't work as well until Beau switched the wording up to kind of be like, this will only take a little bit. And it's funny how like people started filling them out. So they got the $10 credit. And then, it gives us a backside. So we're able to write a handwritten note on the backside of it.
So you can understand how like every move is like, very intentional, very calculated. And in those reviews, they're long, they're in depth. Like they're not your, we haven't got a single 5-star, no comment, like that. Those are useless. Like, so getting that again,
we haven't got a single non-5-star review.
We have a referral program. We have loyalty points, for all of our customers. So again, just every touch point. And I think just, again, that ability to like be that step above is you will be that choice.
Yeah. Like recognize like, okay, these people have 2 dogs. All right. Noted on their order. Right. Like, so I'm showing up to their house with dog treats like that. It's that type of those little touches. And we've talked about stickers for the kids and hopefully soon we'll do
that. Like, I actually don't like getting stickers off clothes. So maybe we don't.
But
find something messy that's easy to clean.
Yeah, exactly.
It's all about those little things just to let our customers know.
At Christmas we did little mini candy canes, and some people don't leave a review and they're super happy with their service still, and they're tons of laundry every week, and it's great. It's like that's just that person.
We also have a text process, so I think that's important. We kind of talked about this a little bit. Is like. We are rooted in like these old school techniques. Like I think there's power in a handwritten thank you that people don't realize at all. It's so powerful. But I also think there's power too in technology and utilizing the resources at hand. So we do have automations set up where after a customer receives their order, about 24 hours after that, they do get an automated text saying, hey, thanks so much for your service. Let us know how your order was on a scale of 1 to 5. So they'll, send a number back. Again, a really easy way. You're just asking them for a number, and every time it's been a 5, but then they give us a 5, and then it automatically says like, thank you so much. We're so glad to hear you liked your service. Go ahead and leave us a Google review for $10 off your next order.
Again, like being like that another high touch would be like I think it says a review goes a super long way in our community, and people understand that, right? Especially like if you're a business owner, if you're even just people really understand that they know how much it is word of mouth, and so that follows up with that, and I think that's been about like a 60 to 70% success rate on those follow ups. So it's been great.
It's huge.
We have like 20 Google reviews, I think, so far. And obviously I think we could have more, and we set goals every month, and we're hitting our goals. So it's about the, continued progress. And I think one thing Liz and I, in all of this, like she mentioned with how we start this business is it's the 1% each day, right? Like how are we making this business 1% better each day? How are we making our systems 1% better each day? Like we're going to get an employee the second we get a space, like let's get ready for that. Like, you know what I mean? Like we know how that goes, so, so just very intentional with every step, and again, just not rushing any of it and just kind of letting it play out.
Yeah.
Well, and I think you guys have like a really strong brand, and I love the sort of marriage between the old school sort of mentality of doing business, high touch, high community, with the new technology that we have available too, and sort of marrying those two things together. Can we just talk about, like, as you were starting to put this brand together, I mean, did you have like a process that you went through, or kind of what did that look like for you to actually build out this brand as you were kind of putting that business together?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, and real quick, before you jump in that, the reason I'm asking is because I think a lot of laundromat owners have forsaken branding, right? Like it's just not been a big priority to them. But, you know, and I have a news segment of the podcast, right? And one of the things that's been popping up a lot is Tide Laundry, right? And Tide Laundry is dropping franchises left and right all over the country. And Tide has a super strong brand, right? Super recognizable household name. Probably the one brand in this business that has the ability to draw people beyond other laundromats, right? Like people will drive past other laundromats to go to a Tide laundromat because they recognize that name. Mm-hmm. I don't know that there's, you know, other than maybe some local brands, right? I don't know if there's any other nationwide brand that has that kind of pull. Yeah, sure. But all that to say, I think branding, which we have not paid much attention to as a whole in the industry, is going to become more and more important in this business. So now is my question is like, you guys have done such a great job with the branding stuff. Like, how'd you guys approach this? Obviously you've done this kind of thing before. It just shows in the way that you're speaking about it. But you know, let's say I wanted to start a brand for my laundromat that hasn't really had a brand. Like, how can I go about thinking about that and putting that together?
Call us, first of all.
I like it.
Good setup. Yeah, we'll get to that. But yeah, I'll let you go. I think you're very good at it.
No, but you know, I would definitely say, like, say you're just starting out, you have your name, so that's decided. I would say you start with your story and the feeling you want to give your customers, right? So everyone's going to be different. I think oftentimes people make the mistake of, I'm going to write to my colors. You know, I'm going to go straight to picking out colors and fonts. And I think that's where you get confused, because it's like, well, your font doesn't necessarily relay your story. You know, and all of that relays your story. Different colors relay different feelings. And so really, like, writing your story down, saying, what is the feeling I want to give people when they come into my laundromat, when they interact with my brand? What, you know, if my brand could be a person, what would they act like? How would they talk? What would they eat? Right? All of that is a feeling. And so, and like your interaction. And it's no different. Like how I like to describe it to people is like the Walmart versus like a high-end department store. Like the lighting is different, right? Like how the clothes are laid out is different. That is the signage. All of it is different. And that is a brand, right? You immediately know though, like one's luxury and one's not. So like, what's the story that you want? How do you want people to feel when they walk into your laundromat? And then go from there. Then go on, like Pinterest is a great resource, you know, and being like, okay, now that I know the feeling, I want to design a modern luxury brand, right? Or a modern luxury logo, and start looking at those colors, start seeing what, like, okay, I see a lot of these colors are dark or black. I see a lot of these fonts are, you know, like, have, you know, they're either, this is a nerdy term, but sans serif or serif, right? Like they have the feet or they don't have the feet, because all of those fonts convey different feelings, and people just don't oftentimes pick up on that, because you don't even realize that when you're interacting with products anywhere you go, it's giving you, like, whether you realize it or not, you're choosing it for some subconscious reason, and it's the feeling it's giving you. And again, you're rebuying that product because it made you feel good, right? Like it's why Starbucks has had so much success being a coffee company, is because they have developed like a third home. They make you feel really good and consistent with their coffee. So
that and the addictive nature of caffeine. I'm just saying. There you go.
Just toss that in there.
But yeah, so, and then really developing, you know, if you can't work with a designer and you can't afford that, going into Canva. And, you know, or Creative Market is a great place. You can buy like packages of, you know, like logos and stuff like that. But I would, you know, if you are going to go to Fiverr, I would really like avoid just finding someone that's just going to make you a logo. I think it's, again, really important as you mentioned, like with all of these, you know, tides coming in, there's a lot of competition in this industry. I think it's really important to create something that's unique. And I think sometimes with Fiverr, those websites, it's often like, you know, very duplicate, you know, like you see it all over.
I think one way to put it too, like, I agree with respecting. I think this is one of the things in business though that you do kind of take a second guess on, like investing in this, right? It's don't think about it as an expense. It's an investment. And I'm not saying this just as a branding designer, but like seriously, the results are tenfold, right? Like there's a reason that, you know, you go on those sites like Fiverr, like I'm not bashing any of those things, but like you can end up with the same logo as someone, right? Like and there's not a lot of personality because at the end of the day, you know, it's like $50. So, you know, just as a benchmark for people, your marketing budget, you know, is anywhere from 3 to 5% of your yearly revenue. So if we're a decent operating laundromat, like you should be able to afford, you know, $4,000 to $5,000 to build a brand that's going to last you years, right? Like you would be shocked at the amount of money that is paid for, like, you know, big time logos, like, you know, and then you hear the story of like the Nike logo that was like $60 or something. And now it's, you know, how big that company, right? Yeah. But think bigger. I think I encourage people to think bigger on like what that brand will become through putting in that investment there and really establishing, you know, your brand. And the last thing I kind of want to say on that, or maybe not the last thing, but definitely remove yourself. Like I think it's so hard. Like, you know, so many people are like, we're a laundromat and I want my logo to be a bulldog. Why? Like, well, I have a bulldog, or I did like 10 years ago. And, you know, like
the bulldog passed away and it's named after the bulldog.
God bless that bulldog. But like, you know, there's a degree of removal that you need to step out for a second, understand like Liz is talking about, like what the customer is wanting and what experience you're going to deliver to the customer. And not
how are you going to create this community, and
then put, you know, visuals to that, and don't get attached. Like just it's really important to have an open mind on like what it can become, and not just what you like. If you don't like blue or you don't like green, or, you know, like all that's, you know.
But I mean, the power of branding is, you know, it's priceless, and I think that's something that people, like, you know, you can spend hundreds of thousands of dollars, and I don't think you need to, but I do think a few $1,000s is necessary in terms of like just being able to have a well thought out package for your business to take with you for years, like Beau was saying, and not hesitate on like, is this right for social? Is this the color I should be using? You know, like and it sounds silly, but it's so incredibly important, you know, when push comes to shove. And I think, you know, what we kind of did when we launched Lotta is we had like a rough logo, and we had a rough website to start, but even just us as brand designers knew that the website was a great start. But we were like, okay, once we get, you know, a few more customers, we want to kind of maybe like update it a little bit. And it ended up being like a mini brand refresh for us. And it was huge. I mean, our ROI, like the sales that we've gotten back from just making a few tweaks and kind of doing that brand refresh, making sure that everything was speaking cohesively, has been huge. So I think people don't realize that either. Is like, it is definitely an investment that your customers notice and feel when they interact. And like, it's funny because I can't tell you the amount of times, like, you know, I'm so all for like, I want to help people out in this industry. I want people to get the resources they need. So please, yes, we're inbox is always open.
And you're doing a great job, Jordan, you know, doing that as well. Like, you know, delivering everything you do at the Laundromat Resource. But
there's so many websites you go on, and it's like, there's no personality, there's no story. I don't even know who runs the business. Like there's not even any sort of like, it's hard for me to, it's just like, here's what we do. And we have these machines, and it's great, right? Like, okay, that's awesome. It looks like you do an amazing job cleaning the, you know, whatever. But when push comes to shove, I think in the world what we live in now in 2025, I want to feel connected. I want more from you. I want more from you. I want to know who you are. I want to know like the nitty gritty. I want to know like what your business is doing on a day to day, and not, you know, it not necessarily be so like stiff, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, I love this. It's great to just be able to like throw out a question and then just shut up. And you guys are like so passionate about this. I'm like, yes, this is.
You can like cue us if we're going off.
It's a runaway train.
No, what I'm saying is, it's great. And I think what you're saying is like, not controversial. It's just it has not been a top priority for most laundromat owners, right? And
it's like it's like, you know, with social media too, like we always say, like, it's like the HR of businesses, right? It's the first to go. Like, like marketing is always like, oh, well, I can cut the marketing. It's like, no, you cannot. You turn up marketing. So,
I made that mistake once. It did not go over well.
Okay. Do you care to share on this episode as well?
Well, yeah. I mean, I've shared this before, but like that first laundromat I bought, I was, you know, expect to be making boatloads of money, was losing money, and I turtled up, man. I got scared and didn't want. I cut the marketing because I was like, that's just more money going out when I'm already losing money. But I cut the channels that could actually help me grow the business, right? Like but it was scary. Like I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know who to ask. Right. So I for sure have done that. And I will just say that it is not the route to go. You got to find even if you got to do, like, what I loved about what you guys were doing is you were doing some of these guerrilla marketing tactics, right? Of like doing, you know, hopscotch stuff and like relatively cheap stuff with door hangers and like just, you know, stuff that even if you don't have a big marketing budget, like you can't stop doing it. If you don't have the money, then you've got to put in the time and effort and energy to do it. And, you know, if you've got money, then you can put less time into actually physically doing the marketing, right? But if you don't, you still have to market. Like, otherwise your business is going to die. Like, it's just going to die.
And again, going back to kind of like we're blessed with like an amazing chamber here in Bainbridge, but you know, going back to just that, like the idea of like, just like, if you're bad at speaking, like go talk to more people, like, you know, talk to yourself in the mirror more. Like, I don't, you know, like it's like that's what I do. So exactly. Every morning. So that skill is so valuable though, you know, and like, and I always say it's like, it takes, you know, sometimes it's like hard to even get a meeting with someone. Like you're stepping into the room and you're essentially getting 20 meetings at once, like, or within an hour, you know what I mean? And like, that is just so valuable for your time and your efforts. Like, and again, like sometimes you can even just go, or they're like $25 or, you know, like to go to one of these events. Like it's very worth it, you know, getting more ingrained and just building on that skill set for sure.
Yeah. Huge. And, you know, I mean, we're talking about branding, right? You're talking about, I love the bulldog and, you know, taking yourself out of it, right? So a lot of people build that brand around me. Here's who I am. And, but, you know, it comes back around. It's something that you haven't said explicitly, but has been present implicitly throughout everything you're saying is you really need to know who your customer is, right? Because if your customer is a bunch of like, you know, independent gyms where, you know, you want to be tough on stains, maybe the bulldog is the right way to go, right? Because it's going to resonate with your audience, right? And maybe the pink sort of 50s diner, you know, brand is not going to play well with that audience, you know, maybe, but, you know, how did you go about like sort of figuring out, you know, the term we use, right, is avatar. How'd you figure out who your avatar is? Because, you know, you have to know who your avatar is before you can figure out how to make them feel the feeling that you want them to feel, right? Because different fonts, different logos, different colors, different ways you interact are all going to, you know, depend on who you're talking to. So how did you figure out who your avatar was?
Yeah.
So we used ChatGPT and
I love it.
Yeah.
Shout out.
We just love it. I that's like my go-to. And really like, you know, dove into a lot of market research. We did our whole entire like 5 to 10 year like plan and like scalability and where we plan out. And we've adjusted it, you know, a few times since then,
probably 3 times. In like 8 months.
And, you know, again, we're a brand new business. We haven't been in business for a year. So it's great to sit down, and you should sit down as a business owner and say, like, here's our projections, you know, but you should still be looking at your numbers saying, okay, here's where we hit our goals. Here's where we didn't, right? And how are we adjusting our numbers? And just, I think it's really easy to go into any business and no matter the strongest idea ever and say like, this is going to take off, right? Like every single person wants to say that their business is going to take off.
You should be saying that.
Yeah. Like put those vibes out there. But also be realistic and knowing like, okay, there might be some months where we don't hit our goal and that's okay. right? That's fine. But how are we kind of making sure we're adjusting and still putting in the marketing efforts, right? Not getting lag behind, or even if you are hitting the numbers, great. Are we still marketing? Are we still putting ourselves out there? Still going to the events, right? Because that is also still important to do while you're still making money. And also, you know, on the opposite perspective, people sometimes let off the gas when they're making money, and then maybe competition comes in, or excuse me, and, you know, something else happens. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh my gosh, we had a couple slow months. Now what? And then you have to scramble, and you're almost like doing twice as much work instead of just having that consistent, you know, habit of upkeep.
It's like you said, Jordan, like cutting the channels, right? Like, you know, so like you think if it's like kind of rolling, it's like you have all these balls and they're going over here, and then all of a sudden they start rolling away. And it's like you have to keep them in the middle at least, right? Like, you know, if they're all going to roll this way, then we have to go turn the gas on again. And so it's like it's a delicate, like, you know, I'm thinking of like a gyroscope, I think. You know, like it's a delicate balance, like, you know, and making sure that you're continuing to pour and sometimes doubling down. Like you're like, especially if like one idea is working really well, like you never know when that idea is going to stop working well. So and
ChatGPT is amazing, as you know, like we've been in marketing for 7 years, and I can develop a marketing. I can sit down and spend hours on it, right? But why do it when we have this tool that can really just help us pop off all these ideas like that, you know?
Organizes it better. Like, you know, it's using technology has been a big, you know, key. And
then being able to say like, okay, here's your customer persona, and then tweaking it and saying, okay, well, ChatGPT, you know, here's where we're on the island, you know, let's kind of challenging a little bit. Okay, you're right. You know, let's cater more towards yoga, you know, or moms or busy.
So we found, you know, we did all that. And I think we kind of came to the fact of like our sweet spot is that like family of 4, you know, family of 5, and the busy professional, or, you know, 1 or 2 busy professionals. We also have, you know, this interesting subset of we have one of like the wealthiest retirement communities in the nation, actually, here in Bainbridge. So we also have this like subset of people that, you know, it's just a little bit of laundry every couple of weeks. We kind of have this both sides of the scale, and it's really interesting. It's really interesting because we continue to develop that again.
But we attract both of them with our branding.
Yeah. So it's like the older people get attracted, I think, because it does feel really trustworthy, and everything we're doing is thoughtful and intentional, and like they see us in this and they're like, oh yeah, like, you know, like
nostalgia going,
vibe for them, like, and I'm here for it. Like we can, you know, and like some old, like there's a couple older ladies that, you know, like I'll go in and chat with them for 5 minutes, you know, like, and it's the best part of their day, and like it's important to me and it's important to us that like we can be that for people as well, like, you know, like that you
never, milkman vibe.
Never know what people are going through either. So it's like, that's really awesome. And I just think that the younger side, that busy professional, like so many sports here on the island, like so many activities, the outdoors, you know, it's like the families. I think that's definitely our.
But again, like the trust started with good branding, and that sounds stupid, but it really did. Like, you know, you think about it and you're like, I mean, I couldn't imagine how much harder it would have been for us to have it come up if we were just kind of like this basic, you know, because there was a previous laundromat in town. It didn't have the best reputation. It was demolished, I think, 4 years ago. But and then there was another company that did pickup and delivery, and they I don't think they were necessarily local, but they weren't really trustworthy. They didn't always follow through on orders. So there definitely was, you know, the first few months, like, are you going to pick up my laundry and return it? Are you going to come up on time? Like, you know, because the last company said that they weren't, they said they were going to come and they didn't. And so again, like having a really strong brand, it's like comforting to people. Like, I'm good. We're good. We have our stuff together. You know, like you don't have to worry.
And also continuing to learn that like that avatar can change, or they can add another one too, right? Because like, you know, there's a lot of people too that are like, so like you pick up my laundry, or like, you know, like. Like, you know, you think like you think you're very clear, like, and again, so I encourage you to even have other people look at like what you're putting out there into the world and what you're putting out on your website, because like at the end of the day, like we're so, as a business owner, especially owner operators, like you're so like locked in on like even sometimes just a task, not the fact that you have 100 tasks on your list, but it's hard to like see what you're saying sometimes. And so sometimes like you think you're being very clear and then you're like, why am I not getting your orders? And again, like a couple of tweaks we really broke down the process of how they order on the phone and like, made it very digestible. And on the website, it's like the turnaround on that was like night and day. So it's clear that maybe when we started, the messaging wasn't full, or there's just an overcome. It's a newer service in general as well, right? Like even, I mean, what's DoorDash? Like, are they like, I don't even know if they're 10 years old. Like even the like delivery service
in general is a new concept.
So especially for that older avatar, like I see probably 100 new customers in the next 2 years just in that avatar on the island, just because like one lady's like, I got a new washer and dryer. I just don't know how to work it. So I'm just going to use you guys. I like what you're doing. Like, I like what you're doing, lady. Like you're a vibe too. Like I'll be over. We'll chat next time. I got to go though. But so yeah, it's cool.
Yeah. Well, I call that outside eyes audit, right? Of like getting other people's perspective on your, laundromat or your service or your brand or, cause for us, like we're in it, right? Like we're like, here's the feeling we want to give, here's the branding, but getting sort of that outside eyes audit where, other people can give you their feedback and be like, actually the pink is, whatever, or
getting this feeling. You hear 3 people say the same thing. You're like, oh,
okay. Right.
Yeah.
So I think that's huge. And, one of the things you were saying earlier is, when we were talking about like marketing and stuff, it's so easy for us, when you start having some success, it's so easy to get complacent because you're like, I'm doing the things and it's working. Right. And especially if you're in like a growth mode, you can't get complacent. Yeah. Right. You've got to continually be trying new things, taking some risks in that. And being willing, like you said earlier, to fail forward a little bit and learn some stuff. And if you're not trying things that aren't working, then you're not trying enough things, in my opinion.
Yeah, true. I love that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And I think that, once you have some success and you're not even in growth mode anymore, I think the principle still remains. Like you've got to continue to try new things. You've got to continue to grow, because this is the fastest I've ever seen this industry change.
It's wild.
Right now. It's changing. I'd still say it's not the fastest industry in terms of change, but there is a lot of change, especially, compared to in the past, even the recent past. And we can't get complacent, even if you feel like you've got a solid business right now, or even a solid brand. Like you've got to continue to make tweaks, make changes, test things, try things, because if not, like you'll get left behind. And that's what I love about what you guys are doing, is that you're trying a whole bunch of different things. Yep. You're really, testing stuff. You're building, and using some sort of creative, marketing, promotion, some creative, service, offerings. I love kind of all that you guys got going on right now.
Thank you.
One of the things that I've gotten pretty consistently from just people I've talked to or people I've had on the podcast who are building a pickup and delivery business without a laundromat is that, number one, like you can do it like relatively cheap. Like you don't have to put out the $200,000 or whatever for a laundromat to do it. So you can do it relatively inexpensively. But one thing I've heard pretty consistently is it's pretty tough to do, like pretty hard to kind of get started that way. So how have you guys found building from scratch? And have you learned any lessons building from scratch that maybe you can pass along to people who are thinking about doing the same thing?
Of course. Yeah. Got all the tea. I think going back to like some of the stuff we've done before too, like I said, we've owned a couple of different businesses. I think one thing Liz and I do very well is we know how to grow and scale a business. And, so, having that experience prior to this, this being like, what feels like our biggest and best project yet. There's been a lot of experience and a lot of things that we've learned. So, I mean, I encourage people, one, to take as much information in as you can, because especially if you haven't lived that or haven't been through those, trials and tribulations that maybe help you understand how to build a business. Like it's hard. Like it's like you had said, like when you started it's probably why you started Laundromat Resource, says you were like, you felt like so alone. And like, I always say, like, there's never the stuff. Well, aside from a few books, one I'm reading lately, but like, it's always like it's almost like you can never like read enough. Do you feel like sometimes, or like get enough, or you're in that panic mode where you're like, I don't have time to like, it's like every decision is so like last minute. So call
that just in time learning right there.
Yeah, exactly. or just not in time learning. Yeah. So behind learning. I'll let Liz expand on that, but I think that like my big piece of that, to answer, that first part of that question is I'm not going to lie. Like, I think our experience and things we've been through have helped us kind of kick it off.
Yeah. I mean, I do think it's an industry where a lot of couples work together, or partners, or maybe they go in with friends or whatever. And so I think in terms of like what Beau was saying, like working together, we've had 7 years, but in terms of owning and operating a business in general, like it is not an easy feat. Entrepreneurship is not for everyone. Owning a business is not for everyone. It is not for the weak. I'll tell you that. And I think a lot of people go in because of social media, maybe because of what they hear through the grapevine. They think like, oh, this should be easy. Like, even if they bought into it, like it should be easy. I should just open my doors and people should just come, like, because I have the service and they need it. And that's just not necessarily the truth. I still think you have to work to get customers. You still have to put in the hours. And so again, if you're starting a pickup and delivery, you don't have a laundromat, you don't have the resources, you do have time. And I'm going to tell you, it's kind of like a new baby. If you haven't had a child or a baby, it's like all hands on deck in that first year. Okay. And when you make it through the first year, you can celebrate, but you have to keep that child alive, at least for that time. And it's very careful. And so like people oftentimes, I think they think it should be easy. Like, okay, I'm going to go to bed at 10, no, you're not, and so I think it's hard because like, you hear in business, have boundaries. I'm all for boundaries, take a day off. Like we were very rigid about like, okay, we need to be closed at least one day a week. So we have that day for family. So we have that day to not do pickups and deliveries, actually like not be going, and again, we've adjusted as we've gone. We used to have hours all throughout the day. Yes, if you are open, you are doing drop-offs and pickups all day long, you are going to get burned out really quickly. So really like be smart about like, you get to set your limits. You get to really be like, how much do I want to scale? Do I want this to be a side hustle and put a cap at how many orders I'm going to take in on a day, right? Or do I want this to be a full-fledged, like, let's just dive in and go for it. And if I'm going to be folding laundry till 1 a.m. tonight, I'm going to fold laundry till 1 a.m. because we're on a full throttle, like mission here to grow. And so like you have to consciously make that choice, and you get to as a business owner. But I want to be clear that if your mission is to scale and to grow as quickly as possible, be prepared to put in the hours, be prepared to maybe miss out on some sleep, be prepared to, have some early mornings or whatever it is. If you're a morning person, wake up early. But we've done it with kids. We don't have our kids in school Monday through Friday. They're little kids. So, it's doable. I'm telling you that it's doable. We are prime witness examples. Again, you can see our crash and burns on social and how we juggle it with everything. But, we figured out what our roles are in the business. And that's key. If you're a husband and wife team, really saying any team, any partnership, you're right. Saying, what is your role and what is my role? And, we share pickups and deliveries, or we have our days, but for the most part, we have our, like, I handle content creation, he handles, sales. And that's worked out well for us. But really being clear about the expectations of each person. And then also, like, what are your expectations as a company? Because if you're expecting to grow, don't be expecting to get a lot of sleep.
Yeah. The sleep's the recurring
I love that.
No, but I think that's a pretty good sum up. The other thing of like, I think the question was, I think one thing you hear is the pickup and delivery is like super labor intensive. And so to Liz's point, like, it is, but there's a lot of ways to get processes, right? Like we've developed, again, going back to ChatGPT, like we developed essentially like a little cheat sheet for us, knowing our washer times, knowing our drying times, knowing our, on average folding times for X amount of pounds of laundry, and knowing when the orders come in on the day, hey, this is going to take X amount of hours. This is how many hours we have in the day. Like, what, and then figuring out, quickly, what's the plan here. So it's really systems are a big thing too. Like you hear like growing 0 to 1 million is very doable. Growing 1 million to 10 cannot be done without systems, right? So really making sure that, like, again, where do you want to go? Let's lay that infrastructure. And again, just, it doesn't have to be all at once, like, because you're going to learn and you're going to change. And so, but it needs to be constantly developing, like, for sure. And growing with you and your business. So yeah.
Yeah. And those systems too, like, you don't necessarily have to have them right away, but it's something that you've got to start developing and tweaking. And as your business grows, guess what? Your systems are going to change, because the systems you used when you had 1,000 pounds of laundry a week aren't going to cut it when you've got 10,000 pounds of laundry a week, and and on, right? So it's never a static thing with the systems either. I mean, same as all the other stuff that we've been talking about, right? Like, this is what it means to own a business and to run a good business. Is these are the things we've got to pay attention to. And when we talk about, like, working on the business versus working in the business, which there's nothing wrong with that at all, is processing laundry and picking up orders and, doing that stuff, which has to be done, right? Either by you or an employee or both. But also you've got to carve out time to work on the business, which is, hey, how are our systems doing? How's our marketing doing? Is our brand still great?
Absolutely.
Like, all of these things these are what we're talking about when we're talking about working on the business. And it's really easy. I mean, kind of like with marketing, when your business is down, it's really easy when you're busy and tired because you're not sleeping and, trying to grow the business. It's really easy to cut the time to work on the business, but that's a death sentence, right? Like, you will eventually start to fade if you cut that working on the business time, which is really cool about, like, what you guys have got going on as a partnership, where you've got some defined roles and you've got some ability to and some synergy in terms of kind of working on the business and working in the business and having capacity to do both.
And I know that obviously everyone's not blessed with that opportunity as well. If you're going in this, I want to give a shout out to the single operators too, because that's arguably twice as hard. And so I think that there's, again, the thing you can take out of what we just said, though, is, and what you just said for sure, is like, it's just about developing a one-man system until you can get that two-man system.
Okay, on Mondays, right? I'm not going to do pickups. I'm going to
being
work
so
on my
rigid
business.
with that. And we're not angels when it comes to like days change, things come up, like, people text you about an order.
That's business.
Yeah. Like that, exactly. Like, and that's what I like to call working on and in at the same time, actually. It's like right in the middle. Right. So, but yeah, so those things happen. And so, like, having grace, but also understanding that, like, look, like, I need this time, and, and this other part of the business needs this time, and just not neglecting anything. Cause that to-do list, oh my God, fills up so fast, like so fast.
It's never ending, you know? So giving yourself, like, really, like, even if you're a solopreneur, solar operator, and you're sitting here saying, like, okay, that doesn't apply to me, I'm the only person, then delegating your days of the week that you're only going on pickups and deliveries, delegating a certain day of the week that you are only dedicating to content creation, because content creation is huge. And as we move into the future, and then another day just for admin stuff. So at least 2 days for you just doing your own thing for your business, especially if you can't hire a content creator, like, having a day to just organize your content, get your videos out there.
An easy way to think about that, again, would be you're open Monday through Friday. Like, again, you don't have to be open every day. Like that, I think that's one thing we noticed. Like, right away, we're like, oh man, we need to close on one day. So, like, we'll close on Sunday. And we're like, oh, like, what if we miss business on Sunday? It's like, no, like, people will pick the next day. Like,
if they want to work with you, they'll work with you.
Yeah, exactly. If that, and that's the work you put in before you got to this point, right? Mm-hmm. It's you're just standing on who you are, and they have a decision to make, and they're going to make the right decision, right? So, I just think that's really important.
Yeah.
Especially if you have that strong brand too, right? And I was just out, actually, not I guess kind of far from where you guys, but I was just in Spokane a couple of weeks ago, and I was hanging out with laundry buddy Kent Wales, who's been in the been on the podcast before, and he runs a pickup and delivery only business, but he transitioned his laundromat to pickup and delivery only, and then just recently he built out a separate space.
Nice.
He bought a building and converted it to pickup and delivery, right? And he said one of the best things that he's done in that transition is he's Monday through Friday only now. And he's got a huge business, right? And he's Monday through Friday only. And he's like, it's great for me and it's great for my employees. And but also I will say he didn't start off that way. Sometimes you got to do what you got to do and forsake not just sleep, but it's also like, you got to say no to social events sometimes. And you got to say no to
say yes to the right ones, right? It goes back to the energy you have. You got to preserve it for sure at that point. And I'm so guilty of that sometimes too. It's like, why are you taking this meeting? I'm like, I don't know. I was just going to meet someone. But so it's important that, especially when you get super busy for sure, to kind of lock down a little bit for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. You opened a can of worms. I was getting ready to sort of start winding this thing down, but you opened up a new can of worms, Liz. So thank you for that. No, I'm just kidding. You mentioned, and you guys are doing it, right? And again, we'll have links to everything, but you mentioned content creation. It sounds like you think everybody with a laundromat or laundry business should be making content. So can you talk about that a little bit? Like how important actually is content creation and what does that actually do for your business?
Yeah, don't get me started.
I already did. You got you started, not me.
I think as we're moving towards the next generation, it's funny. Beau and I 7 years ago had a print advertising mailer and we transitioned into social media, and that alone for our clients was tenfold, right? Like ROI alone, that was just 5 years ago, right? Pre-pandemic. So it's the importance alone, we have another page, a personal page, and we ran our entire business just off Instagram alone, just sales through Instagram. We had clients all over the world, and did coaching and stuff like that. So that was all through content creation, literally just creating content, putting our expertise out there, sharing what we know and getting clients out of it. Right. And setting up our systems. We had a stand store, which is a whole nother tangent on content creation. And, there's a lot of different apps that you're able to actually, like ManyChat, you're able to monitor sales and really figure out how many people are engaging with your content and send them your resources and get leads. So just the ways that you can touch so many people at once for essentially for pennies, right? I mean, some are free. Some of these apps are free.
We haven't, I think we ran one Facebook ad back in the end of summer and we were just no. And everything we've done is it's organic on social. And even with the other page, she was mentioning, it was all organic. Yeah. So, all the coaching we were doing with social media, with branding, it was all.
We didn't pay a dime for ads, but we lived our entire, we have family.
So if we want to talk about marketing budget wise, you absolutely should be making content for your laundromat, for your pickup and delivery laundry business. But just to kind of piggyback off of what Liz is saying, just for this generation coming up again, they are consuming so much content, and even our generation, we're millennials, and just that whole introduction, we've been through this all to see it to now, and now this upcoming generation, that is how people search things first, right? That is arguably more important first stop than your website. Especially again for this younger generation coming up, and they have the most buying power, and they're slated to be your customer as well, especially if you're thinking more long-term, 20, 25 years, right? Not saying neglect all those other people, but, even those people are more and more using their phone. You see it all the time. It's, a parent at the park, they're on their phone and their kids running around. What are they doing? And I think on Lotta's laundry website.
That's right. They are
on our Instagram.
On there. Yeah. And your TikTok. Yeah.
Dude, what people don't realize, they'll go and they'll spend $5,000 on a direct ad mail flyer. Okay. And you're like, holy crap. And you'll get it in the mail. And I know how much this person spent. And you're like, wow, this is crazy because I'm just going to throw it in the trash. See ya. And it's and that sounds harsh, but it's true because it's just a piece of paper. I don't want it. It's junk to me. There is power in telling a story through content. You cannot tell that story through a piece of paper. You just can't. You could put it all in text, and guess what? People just aren't going to read it. But people are going to watch your video, a very creative video, and they're going to want to hear what you have to say, and they're going to want to hear your expertise. And so we've had so many people like on TikTok have reached out to us like, I wish I was in Bainbridge so you could do my laundry. Like, that's power of content. That is the power of sharing your story, is because you just can't do that through an ad like you can through content. Like, and you have so many opportunities, and people think that the goal of content should be to go viral, and that's so far from the truth. That should be a bonus. The goal of content should be to tell your story and gain a community, to build a community. And you only do that through sharing content. And then it's funny because you start telling your story, people start commenting, and you're able to create conversations again that you just aren't able to ever touch in any sort of TV commercial, print advertisement, radio advertisement. It's just like out there into the abyss. But
and there can again be that's beautifully said. Like there can be like a connection as well, like back to those more roots, right? So like, talking about influencers, like if you have a community influencer that is, has a lot of engagement within that community, like it is so powerful.
Oh my gosh.
And sometimes you don't even have to pay these people. Sometimes you should pay these people. I'm a big advocate, obviously, for paying for creative, but like, there's so many different opportunities. Again, you're like, hey, I'll do your laundry for a month if you make 2 reels for me. And those 2 reels could get you 25 customers. You're taking that social part and you're pulling like the word of mouth, and you're blending, your old school in-person tactic and the community, like word of mouth with this high value video that people literally watch like 4 or 5 times. Like, you know what I mean? Like unintentionally they'll watch it 4 or 5 times. Like, and that is just, again, like I was saying, the power of like
share with their friends,
creating content that speaks to your business. And again, not creating, I think there's a balance for sure. Like, I think it's important to create, a little bit of content that is more direct on like if you like, one of our pinned reels is basically just the process. Like we did a video, like we'll show up, pick up the laundry, shows it at washing, but it's just like a quick run through. Like that's valuable because people still need to know how this works. Again, do not,
because there's different audiences.
Do not assume they know how this works. It's a new service. And then there's the other part of like, the personality and the rawness. Like, everyone always just shares the wins. Like it's like,
or just like the very stiff, like we wash and fold 24-hour, 48-hour express. That's what it says. And it's just a slide. And you're like, okay, like I want to see you tell me a story. Tell me what you're doing with your laundry business.
And your idea, your thought process is bringing in new people too. So if you're in a city, you're bringing in new people from all the suburbs, right? But if you're in a community like this, you want to bring in new people, but also just people that attract to your story, right? So if you're bringing in the right people, again, that it's going to turn over. I promise. It's just how it works, right? But it's important to bring in these new eyes, and you're only doing that through videos that tell you. If you come across a slide and it says, like this is saying 40, it's like you could be anywhere. You could be doing probably 5 different things. I'm sure you're a laundromat, like, because probably the wording you use could apply to 3 or 4 different types of businesses. Like, there's just no context, right? So it's so important to like.
Content is great, but good. You need good content, right? Like content, you still need to
content that feels like, if I never met you, I could get a little piece of you right there. And
I could understand what you're about, or I could pick up on your energy. Like, I
get the camera.
Just get comfortable being uncomfortable, truly, and know that content creation is not a game to go viral. It's a game for you to build a community and to just have this opportunity to connect with people. Like, people forget businesses all the time. They'll pay they'll pay thousands of dollars for people to make reels for them, and then they won't comment at all. Like, people comment on the videos, they won't even respond to the comments. And it's like, oh my God, like that alone, right, is you missing opportunities to connect with customers. Those should be seen as your potential customers.
Your leads.
Yeah. Your leads that are actively wanting to hear from you. So I'm sorry, I just popped off on that one, Jordan.
That's what we're about.
Yeah, I told you I could go down a thing with content because we've been content creators for years, and we made a lot of content for clients, for ourselves, for different industries, and there isn't a single business that I would say don't create content.
Yeah,
and don't share your story.
Yeah. We're in kind of the stages of just. To kind of end how we did this, but like we're in the stages of being able to open ourselves more to help other laundry operators with branding, with social, and it's important for us. I think it's become this, like, through this 8 months, it's become this thing where we're like, oh no, like we need to we need to get this out there more, and that's why it's so important to be on, awesome podcasts like yours, to spread this more.
Yeah.
It's like you said, like it's just very dry at this point.
And we're incredibly passionate about it. Like I there's nothing I love more than like, it irks me to sit and see like a beautiful business or like, a great, and then just be like, oh my God, they could just, if they just did this, this, and this, like then it would be like next level. And everyone has that potential.
Exactly. I believe in that for everyone, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's low hanging fruit right now, right?
Yeah.
Like there are some laundry operations, laundromats, laundry pickup and delivery they have good brands.
They're more intentional, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But
what are they doing? Like,
I would say the vast majority of them don't, right?
Yeah,
Like,
totally.
You know what I mean? Like, and that's and the fact that you guys are passionate about this is obvious, because I've said like 27 words the entire podcast, because you guys have like just owned it, like, and it just, I mean, your passion just kind of like flows through it, and you guys are living it in your laundromat, like, or your pickup and delivery business.
Yeah.
In Lotta's Laundry. Well, first of all, make sure that you're following them. Again, we'll have links to everything, especially if you're somebody who feels like you need some help with your branding for your business. It sounds like you guys have got some things cooking up.
Yeah, we got some things cooking. We'll have some more, material, if you will. But it's becoming an important thing that we feel like we can really add a lot of value within the industry. And like you said, just like that's exactly what we're trying to do in the community. Like, why not continue to share that with other people? And I would just love to see like more awesome brands out there too, and I know, like I said, everyone's got it in them. Like, everyone probably, there's something in your business always you're like, oh, it'd be really cool if we did it this way, or like, I think there's like you're always hungry for something. So I think that it's important to think about the branding and what that can do for your business, for sure.
Yeah. So make sure you're following those guys. Unless there's anything else you want to talk about, I have one more kind of question. Are we missing anything? Are we good?
No,
we're good.
Okay. Because Beau, I mean, you mentioned earlier, like you've read a lot of books and you're reading a lot of books, trying to do that. I was just curious, like, do you have any that you recommend? Books? I mean, it could be branding or marketing, or it could just be business or personal development. Well, like any books, I guess, really.
Yeah. I mean, if I'm going way back, I feel like one book that helped us early on was Content Mavericks. I thought that was a really good book on kind of understanding, like, that might be a little dated at this point. Atomic Habits is one of Liz's.
Good one.
Yeah, that's a good one. Just something kind of like the discipline and the understanding of that. And then lately I've been reading some of Tony Robbins' books, which, is a different degree of, and none of these within the laundromat industry, but like just understanding the way like you can think about situations that you're in. I think there's a lot of value in like the book Unshakable. And then also I'm just listening to a lot of podcasts. Like the podcasts have been huge for us, just kind of understanding like how to, like, there's so much self-doubt, I think, in like being an entrepreneur, like that you're like always just shoving
and
down.
Loneliness. It's kind of
and it's like, so it's like, I think building mental resilience is like something I'm really focusing on this year. Because I just, it's like I said, it's not for the faint of heart. And I think that the better we can be as people, I think that'll just translate to your business. So I would say, like, not the self-help books, but like read inspirational things, like be very conscious with what you're feeding your mind. Like, that's one of Tony, I'll give Tony Robbins. That's one of his, but like, it's like, if you think about it, like, like just even the music you listen to, like, it's so interesting how much it can influence you. And just like, if you have the time, like, read a book. Don't jump and read a news article. Like,
Rich Dad, Poor Dad, I read probably 3 years late into business. Should have read that one right out of the gate. And that one I think is like, I looked at that cover for years thinking I'm never going to touch it, but it's so valuable. Yeah. Branding is
if I would have read it, the book cover was better. Great book. Yeah. The Influence book.
I think going back to what Beau said, like, it's very easy to get caught up in a negative mindset, like, or this isn't working. And just really knowing like what you put out there is what you get. And that goes back to like, if you really want to really give back, the number one rule of money is give and then you shall receive.
Yeah.
So, don't be afraid to donate a little bit, to put yourself in these positions, to be open-minded and to be open to receiving. I think oftentimes, like, when you get down on yourself in entrepreneurship, you really get down.
Yeah.
So, like finding your friends, finding your community. Again, this is where content creation comes in key, because I can't tell you the amount of people that I have met through creating content that I'm like best friends with people, all over. I've never even met them, but we have conversations, we have FaceTime, I chat with them over Zoom, and we connect over business, and being like, hey, how's it going with clients? Oh, last month was a shitty month. Yeah, me too. Right. Like, so, and having those conversations is key, because you're not alone.
Yeah.
There are many other business owners that feel the exact same way you do, but they're never going to know that if you don't share it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Being vulnerable for sure.
Yeah. And I've shared here before, like I spend a lot of money every year to be in mastermind groups with other business owners, entrepreneurs, investors.
Yep.
Partly because it is a lonely and difficult journey, and there's a whole lot of ups and downs. And, partly because too, like I want to be hanging out with people that are doing different things, bigger things, cooler things than me.
Thing, right. Too. Yeah. Like they always say, like, get in the room where people like you're like almost
you're the small fish.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's very valuable.
Yeah. Well, I love that. And so many good, we'll link to all the books there if you're interested in picking up any of those. There's so many good books there. And I was writing down your quote, like, I love, like, don't be afraid to give a little, like just so much good stuff. And, the way that I view content creation is a way to give a little bit too.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, just kind of wrap up the sort of the content creation thing. There's a lot of people out there that probably are never going to do content for their business, or feel like they're not the person to do it. But I did want to also bring up, I have a good buddy in one of my mastermind groups that I'm in, who he's in the Pacific Northwest too. And he owns, a bunch of different businesses. One of them's a Hawaiian Island grill, that he owns. And he has two of his employees, who do his social, and he actually gave them a trip to Hawaii because they hit 200,000 followers on Instagram in like 10 days or something like that, or less than 2 weeks.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And so, it was one of his incentives to tell them get it right. So it doesn't necessarily, just to kind of put it out there, like it doesn't have to necessarily be you. Like if you're like, listen, I don't understand all this stuff. I don't get it, or I just cannot get on camera, or whatever the case. Like there are other ways to do it, but I do agree, man. I think creating some sort of content is, it's going to be a staple. It already is a staple, and it's going to be more of a staple going forward.
I encourage people to kind of like think about just in their budget. Like, I read something the other day that was like, people are like, so, they're like, oh no, I'm not going to invest, $1,000, $1,500 a month in social media manager. Like I could never. And they're like, you're like, okay, so if you got hit with I'm going to be cautious with how I say this, but if you get hit with a $1,500 tax bill, like you're just not going to pay it. It's like, no, the majority of people, I'll say, will pay that tax bill because they have to, right? So I encourage you to think about some of these things in your business, like you have to.
Yeah, it's just part of owning a business.
It's part of an expense. It's the new website, like
paying an employee.
When people came out started designing websites that were completely custom coded, you bet your butt they were paying probably $700, $800 to have that managed per month because it was so technical. So like if you don't understand it, stay away from it. I go to
you can pay someone to do it.
I go to Mel Robbins' podcast, right? She talks a lot about ABC work, right? So like if it's not your A work and it's not even remotely your B, like you shouldn't be touching it. You should be offboarding that work, and you should work on more A work to make you the most money, because that A work is the best work you're at, right? If you're a killer salesman, get someone in your take that investment out, figure it out. If it's a family member, I mean, there's so many different ways people, again, with money, it becomes a block with people, right? Like I encourage you to think differently.
If you have a block, read The Psychology of Money. It'll unblock
That's a great book. Yep.
Because it is a mindset thing, like Beau was saying. And I think a lot of it is like, how we've always thought about investing when we've joined masterminds, or okay, I'm going to invest $10,000 in this mastermind, whatever it is. That's going to be 3 customers. That's going to be 3 social media clients. That's going to be 10 laundry customers. 10, right? So like reverse engineer it and then be like, okay, well, that's easy. I can go out and I can get 10 new customers. No big deal. Right? Like, so really like, and then make it into biteable chunks because you can do it, right? You can make the investment. It's just really like, the less you tell yourself the excuse, the more it can happen.
I mean, the Hawaiian, what you just said is a perfect example. Like he didn't hire those 2 kids to do content, but guess what? Those kids were really good at making content. And I'm sure they made some funny, couple reels and they popped off. And I say this lightly, but like the opportunities that open up when you can grow your following like that are pretty incredible. And pretty like annoying too. Like there's a good and a bad side, right? Like some are just like, you're like, oh my God, no. And then there's this new flood of like these brands that possibly want to work with you. And like, that's cool. And I'm not saying strive for that, but like there's upside in investing in your social past just like marketing your business. Like more opportunities can open up for you, like undoubtedly. And the weirdest opportunities, but they're cool too. And, so it's a crazy world out there for sure. Like,
it is.
There's a lot of opportunity
and they're getting paid alone to post content. Like these apps will literally pay you if you had enough views consistently, so. I mean,
even thinking about it, like as simple as like, if it's a barbecue restaurant, like I don't know if there's ketchup in a barbecue restaurant, maybe for fries, but like something as simple as like a Heinz partnership with a restaurant, like that stuff is happening. You know what I mean? So like it like, don't even think about it like that, but like there's just so many opportunities out there. And I think investing in those people that know how to do that job is your smart decision, really.
If you can't do it yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. And or finding the person it's important.
Well, I mean, there's a reason he was able to send those 2 girls that were doing the social media and a guest for each of them to Hawaii because it makes an extra pass. Makes a big difference, like it makes a big difference. And you're right. Like one of the big things that surprised me just having a weird little laundromat podcast, right, is the opportunities that come out of that, of just creating content, trying to help people build their businesses, build the lives that they want to build, free up people's time so they're not spending half their Saturday doing laundry and can do something else, like whatever it is, right? Like when you put yourself out there, you're going to run into a lot of people who are just, they're miserable in themselves and don't want to make misery loves company, right? So you're going to run into a lot of that, but you're also going to run into a lot of opportunities that you never would have even considered had you not done it. So huge. Well, you guys, like, you got me all jazzed up right now. I am like, we're going to have to for sure do a part 2 and run more into this, but this has been awesome. Like, this is a topic. Well, I mean, listen, we were talking about your laundromat kind of, but we went deep and hard into branding. We went into, just even our own sort of psychology and stuff. And that's huge. Like there's so much to be, said about that. And I love that you're doing, the Tony Robbins, the Unshakable is a great, book. And, Mel Robbins, like just this whole, like, building a business. Honestly, this is how I look at it now. This is not how I used to look at it, but this is how I look at it now, is that this is less of a process of building a business or building wealth. And it's more of a process of who I'm becoming as a person. Yeah. And, all these challenges, like the sleepless nights, the difficult customers, the trolls online, like all these different struggles that you go through, they have the ability to break you and make you quit. And like that happens. And there's nothing wrong with that necessarily, but they also, if you can get that mindset right, they have the ability to turn you into somebody bigger and better, who can handle bigger and better things and who can do bigger and better things. And the more you can do, the more people you can serve. I mean, you're seeing that right now, right? Where you're like, we want to start a laundry pickup and delivery, and you're doing that. And now you're looking and being like, you know what? We probably actually could help a lot of other laundry owners with their branding. So now you're going to have, your fingers, you can have a small part of transforming communities, because that's what we have the opportunity to do in this business, right? Is transform communities. See what I mean? Like this is, it's so cool. Like you know, and guess what? You probably never would have thought of that when you first got started in this business of like, you're going to have a part in transforming community. Like that's so cool. And guess what? Once you've done that, who knows what the next opportunity is going to be? You know what I mean? So
of course we have some.
I do have some things, can't release them yet.
We have some longer term ideas with
for the laundry
some
industry,
different products and stuff within the industry. But so we're excited about that too.
Yeah.
I mean, that sounds like a natural second podcast episode when you're ready to drop that stuff. So.
We'll let you know. We'll be one of our first tests when we get the product released.
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, guys, this has been seriously, like, I am so jazzed. I mean, this is why I do this, man, is because I get to talk to people like you, hearing the cool things that you guys are doing, and just feeding off your vibes and your energy. And I love it. So I'm jazzed up today. Thank you guys for taking the time to come on the show and to share your experience and your wisdom, and hopefully to add to your community as well. So make sure, again, you're going to follow what they're doing over there, and they're sharing kind of the good, bad, and ugly of their experience over there. And there's something to be learned from following that. So thank you guys for coming on. Appreciate it.
Yeah, we really appreciate you. Really appreciate your time, and and everyone for listening, for sure.
Yeah. Well, you guys have got a standing invitation to come hang out anytime you guys want to do something. So
let's do it. Love it. In-person podcast.
Yeah. Hey, that's not time. I'll hop off my island to head over to your island one of these times. Maybe we can do a swap, and then one time you can come out to my island. That'd be great.
Love it. It's
awesome. All right, guys. Well, appreciate you again, and looking forward to that second episode that we're going to do.
Yeah.
Thanks so much, Jordan.
Hope you love that episode. Listen, so much good stuff, all very practical, all very tangible. And there's a lot of different directions we hit. Obviously for me, one of the big takeaways was branding, and how important that's becoming in our business. But what about you? What is or are the big takeaways for you? And more importantly, what are those takeaways, and what one at least are you going to take action on today or this week at the latest, right? We've got to take action on the things that we're learning. So maybe it's branding, maybe it's getting started with your pickup and delivery, maybe it's getting more involved in the community, whatever it is, pick something and actually do it. All right. With that said, we'll see you next week on the Laundromat Resource Podcast. Peace.